Sivaya Nama, Thuchchaana. Welcome back to our discussion on the 9th Thirumurai. With Lord Shiva's grace, we have already concluded 20 Thirupathikams, and today, with his blessings, we are going to start with the 21st Thirupathikam. This is written by Venattagial and it is written to the place called as Thillai, and the pun is Puranirmai. Let's look at the first verse. Thuchchaana. Thuchchaana seidhidinum பொறுப்பரன்றே ஆளுகப்பார் கைச்சாலும் சிறுகதலி இலை வெம்பும் கரி கொள்வார் எச்சார்வும் இல்லாமை நீ அறிந்தும் எனது பாணி நச்சாய் காண்திரு தில்லை நடம்பயிலும் நம்பானே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse links with a lot of realistic situations that we will be able to relate with, whatever is happening around us as of today. When we talk about the Indian tradition of cooking, usually we always talk about 6 tastes. In English versions, we don't even have names for those English versions. We have only a few, like sweet, salt, spicy, those kind of words. But there are 2 different tastes that we call it as. One is bitter, which is kasapu. Another one is the moment you eat gooseberries, you will have a feeling, right? That is considered as one another taste, which we don't really have an equivalent name. At least I'm not aware of that particular name. Now, in Indian tradition, we always, especially when we are serving guests, we always prefer to have all the 6 tastes, because medically also these 6 tastes are important for our body, nourishment of this body. Now, what happens when we dislike certain vegetables or certain tastes? Even those are not going to be thrown off. For example, bitterness. If it is bitter, it is still needed, because we all know heart functions better with bitterness. So, we still include those, like for example, neem flowers. Even today, we have a tradition of making something called as pachadi, especially during New Year. We include those. Same ways, when we talk about the baby banana, which is very not yet fully grown, usually we throw it off. But in my places, my traditional places, we usually make a dish with that also. Now, these are tastes which is not so sought out for, not like ice creams or not like cakes and not like sweet or whatever, but still we seek those tastes. Similar to when someone needs a slave to work for them, whatever mistake the slave does, they will try to adjust, put up with that nonsense. The reason is we need slaves, so we have to put up with the nonsense, no other choice. Now, what happens in this particular verse is, the author says, Lord Shiva, I am also like a slave. I am also like some vegetables which is bitter in taste. But we don't throw it off. In reality, when you look at it, people don't throw it off, which means they really need those. Similar to that, I am also making mistakes. I am also full of nonsense. But the only thing is, I know only you. I have no other person in this world that I can look up for. I am such a devotee that I have already surrendered myself to you. Now, looking at my mistakes, you shouldn't be throwing me off. Rather, you should embrace me. That is what the author's request is for Lord Shiva. In other words, we should also start praying in this manner, because we are all making mistakes. And when we make mistakes, Lord Shiva is not going to throw us off, but all we have to do is just request to him again and again, saying that I do make mistakes consciously or unconsciously, but whatever it is, you have to show your grace. You have to make sure that I am getting away from this, and I'm going to be your devotee forever. That is what first verse is all about. And the second verse, the verse goes this way. Thuchchaana. தம்பானை சாய்பற்றார் என்னும் மோது சொல்லும் எம்போல்வார்க்கில்லாமை என்னளவே அறிந்தொழிந்தேன் வம்பானார் பணியுகத்தே வழியடியேன் தொழில் நிறையும் நம்பாய் காண்திரு தில்லை Chidambaram nambane. Thuchchaana. Today's verse talks about a very beautiful statement. In this, if we want to hold on to water, if we want to take water in a jug, we all know the jug should be straight. What if we are holding the jug upside down? Obviously, we won't be able to hold water in it, isn't it? Similar, this is taken as an analogy or a metaphor here to say this verse comes as an emotional outburst from the saint, but we have to take it from our point of view. Because even today, we are facing these situations. When someone is going through when we do something good or we are doing some services to God, and we are going through some turmoil, whereas someone who's disturbing us is going through a good life, we always get a bit demotivated. We go back to God and say, why are you doing this? I'm innocent and I'm working for you, and I have so much of an devotion for you, but why are you making me struggle whereas the other person is happy and peaceful? This is a common statement we all have faced in our life, and we do talk about this to Lord Shiva. So this verse comes as an answer. When I say I'm doing all these services without any expectation, who is the best person to judge? Not me, it's Lord Shiva. I don't know if I'm a very new devotee or I have been a devotee for ages together, because I don't know what I was in the previous life, right? Whereas the other person, we don't know whether they are a new devotee or whether they have been in this devotion in their previous births. When we say the other person, when they are doing something like only 20% or 30% of what I do, but you are acknowledging that versus you're not acknowledging me, it's a simple blame on Lord Shiva, because he knows exactly what we are up to, and he knows exactly what they are up to as well. So in order to have a clarity, it is always better to have this, it's always better to just surrender ourselves to Lord Shiva and say, okay, I don't know what is reality, I don't know what level of maturity I have versus they have, whatever it is, I'm just surrendering to you completely, you take decision. It's as good as I'm going to be a jug which is going to be straight, so you fill up water, it is up to you. And I don't want you to hold it upside down, which means you don't put me into a turmoil that I get into a guilty feeling or I get into a confused state. Rather, you decide what is good for me. This kind of a surrendering approach is the best when we talk about elevating ourselves spiritually. That is what verse number 2 talks about. And the third verse, the verse goes this way, Thuchchaana. பொசியாதோ கீழ்கொம்பு நிறைகுளமென்றது போல திசை நோக்கி பாழ் கணித்து சிவபெருமானோ எனினும் இசையானால் என் திறத்தும் எனையுடையாள் உரையாடாள் நசையானின் திருத்தில்லை நடம் பயிலும் நம்பானே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse also resonates with the earlier two verses, as in the author says, "O Shiva, why are you not showing your grace on me?" We all know a very easy example that we are able to see as of today. Imagine a lake. When the lake is filled with water, we don't need to go through a particular canal or something in order to channelize the water, but rather the water seepage will start from the canals, so that it will, as in from the lake, so the nearby plants and the shrubs and all these will start getting the nourishment from the lake itself directly. But the water will start seeping out. All we have to do as of now is, the lake is nothing but we have to start filling in the lake with the water called as grace. Grace is, we have a metaphor here. Grace is taken as the consort of Lord Shiva. She owns us. She is there with us. All we have to do is fill up the lake with grace. How are we going to do that? with the help of the 5-letter syllable. Once we start chanting the 5-letter syllable, as well as once we start reciting Thirumurais, Thirumurai Muttrodals and all these, the grace will already start falling into us. That is the most important one in order to get the nourishment. Rather, if we don't do this, as in if we don't chant the 5-letter syllable, and if we don't chant Thirumurais, but rather we just go and fight with Lord Shiva to ask why is he not showing us his grace, there's going to be no point, because the lake is empty. All we have to do is fill up the lake. Fill up the lake with grace. And grace is the moment we start reading Tirupadikams, the moment we start reciting the 5-letter syllable, the Shivaya Nama, which means Lord Shiva is already going to be part of us. That is what verse number 3 is all about. It's as simple as this. When we are within the devotees community, what happens is when Lord Shiva is bestowing his blessing, water, as in the blessings, will start seeping through that, and we will also get the nourishment. That is why in Saivism, they always say there are 3 things which is ultimately important: Guru, Ilinga, Sangamam. Guru is, we know, there should be someone who is going to guide us in this path. The next one is Ilingam, which is nothing but Lord Shiva in the form of Linga. And the third one is Sangamam, which is nothing but being with the devotees. So hence, all we have to do is, right now the lake is empty, let's fill it up with grace, and then let's see the nourishment in the path of Saivism. And the 4th verse, the verse goes this way: Chidambaram. ஆயாத சமயங்கள் அவரவர் கண் முன்பென்னை நோயோடு பிணிநலிய இருக்கின்ற அதனாலே பேயாயி தொழும்பனைத்தம் பிறனிகளும் என் பித்தாய் நாயினை திருத்தில்லை நடம்பயிலும் நம்பனே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse is actually a little bit kind of a tricky way to question Lord Shiva. This resonates with Karaikal Ammayar as well as Nambi Arurar's verses. Karaikal Ammayar, in one of the verses, she says, Lord Shiva, everyone knows that I am your devotee. And if they come and ask me, since you are such a staunch devotee, tell me how Lord Shiva will look like. How am I going to answer them? So in order to answer them, at least, please show how you will look like. So that's a very tricky way. It's not that I want to see you, but it's like if someone is asking, I need to answer them. Same ways, Nambi Arurar will also say, you have taken away my eyesight in front of everyone. Tomorrow they will all say, you know what, there was a Shiva devotee who lost his eyesight. Who's going to be getting the blame here? Not me, it's you. They will say, oh, see, Lord Shiva was not able to protect, and he was the one who punished his own devotees. So which means you are going to be blamed. Such a smart way, isn't it? It's exactly the same way that we are able to see in this Padikam also, in this verse also. The author says, Lord Shiva, I'm here as your devotee. The others who are not following the path of Saivism are looking at me and making fun of me. They say, what happened to your leader? Has your leader not shown his grace on you? You are suffering, and you're going through the sufferings in terms of your mental well-being as well as your physical well-being. Does it mean that your boss is not supporting you? Your boss is not taking care of you? They have started making fun of me because I'm going through a lot of hardships in terms of emotional turmoils as well as the physical ailments. At least for that, Lord Shiva, please come and show me your grace. Smart way, isn't it? We should also start practicing this. We should also start asking Lord Shiva to show his grace. It's not for us, but for at least answering the others, since we are his devotees. That is what verse number 4 is all about. And the 5th verse, the verse goes this way: Thuchchaana. நின்று நினைந்திருந்து கிடந்தெழுந்து தொழும்பனேன் ஒன்றி ஒரு கால் நினையாதிருந்தாலும் இருக்க ஒட்டாய் கன்று பிரி கற்றா போல் கதறுவித்து வரவு நில்லாய் தந்தாய் நன்றிதுவோ திருத்தில்லை நடம்பயிலும் நம்பானே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse resonates with all our other Thirumurais. If we look at the 8th Thirumurai, Manikavasagar also talks about the same kind of a mind state. Lord Shiva came down, he came as a guru, and he totally took charge of the devotee as Manikavasagar. After that he disappeared. Same goes for Nambi Arorar's life history also. Shivaperuman came, he took charge, he said, "You are my slave, you have to work for me." After that he just disappeared. So when you look at the mind state of these devotees, with these saints, when they were singing, we could see a lot of longingness, saying that, "Lord Shiva, why did you leave me here and go? You should have taken me with you. What did I do for you to leave me here and go off?" So they we can see that what level of pain they were going through by knowing that they are already devotees, but Lord Shiva just left them here. So if you look at it, it's almost like abandoning them, but literally if you look at it, Lord Shiva did not abandon them. He wanted to have some work that they have to do. For example, Manikavasagar had to sing the 8th Thirumurai, Nambi Arurar has to sing the 7th Thirumurai. So there was work for them. That is why Lord Shiva left them here. But when saints are singing, they say, "Why did you abandon me?" Similar to this verse, here also the saint says, "When I sit, when I stand, when I walk, when I sleep, I always think about you. Even unconsciously, if my mind is drifting away in terms of not able to think about you, immediately you bring back my thoughts, you bring back my conscious onto Shivoham state, which tells me that you really take care of me and you take charge of my thoughts and my work and everything that I do. But why are you leaving me here? You take charge of my thoughts, you're bringing me back into this Saivism devotion and everything, but why are you not taking me completely from here and putting me under your feet forever? Why don't you give me that blissful state, the blissful happiness, the eternal happiness that comes as an emotional outburst," as verse number 5. And as I said, this is not new. We have been seeing this kind of an emotional outburst or the mind state from the other Thirumurais also. What we have to do is just pray to Lord Shiva, saying that, "Please give me this kind of a mind state." The state that I'm missing him, the state that we miss him completely, that is something only Lord Shiva can give us. That is also a blessing that he can bestow on us. So all we can do is only ask for that boon from Lord Shiva. That's what verse number 5 is all about. And the 6th verse, the verse goes this way. Thiruchitrambalam. படு மதமும் இடவயிரும் உடைய களிருடைய பீரான் அடியறிய உணர்த்துவதும் அகத்தியனுக்கோ தன்றே இடுவது புல் ஓரிருதுக்கு ஒன்றினுக்கு வையிடுதல் நடுவிதுவோ திருத்தில்லை நடம்பயிலும் நம்பானே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse also talks about whatever we are going through as of today in our life. Sometimes we go and even with our parents, when we have a sibling, we will go and fight with our parents, saying that, "Hey, why is that you are so partial with my sibling versus me? You are doing everything for my brother or sister, but you are not taking care of me." We usually argue this way, right? That's exactly how in this particular verse the author is also asking Lord Shiva. He says, you see, there are two lives or soul. One is Agathir, another is me. When you talk about Agathir, you have given the agamas to him, which means he is really good and you have taken care of him. I am also a soul, right? You should also have given me something to elevate me in the spiritual path. But what you have given me is whatever I need for this life. As in, we call it as Pasanyana or Pasunyana. These are the ones you gave me, but you did not give me the Agamas. Why is this partiality? So, the saint is asking Lord Shiva, saying that, is this what you call it as a neutrality? Looks like you're not neutral, you're partial with one soul, and you're not doing the same for the other, which is not fair. So this argument is put forth when it comes to this particular verse. He also gives an example saying that, imagine you have 2 cows in your farm. For one cow, you are just giving hay, and the other cow you're giving all green grass. Is this fair? Is this good? This is exactly how Lord Shiva is being questioned. This exactly resonates one song from Nalvar Nanmani Malai by Karpanai Kalanjiyam Sivaprakash. In that also he would have asked Lord Shiva. Actually, it will not be to ask Lord Shiva, it will be like as if he is asking Appar Peruman. Lord Shiva wanted to take 2 devotees. One is Kali Pillayar, another one is Appar Peruman. He should have done the same for both of them, right? But what he did was, he gave milk to Kali Pillayar and he gave a very tremendous disease to Appar Peruman. And he took both of them as his devotee. Is this fair? That's exactly how we are able to see this verse also. So, it doesn't mean that Lord Shiva is unfair, but Lord Shiva is trying, he can't play around with our karma. So what he is doing is, he is giving us the experience according to our karmic deeds. That is what the inner meaning of this verse is all about. The 7th verse. The verse goes this way. Thuchchaana. மண்ணோடு விண்ணளவும் மனிதரோடு வானவர்க்கும் கண்ணாவாய் கண்ணாகாது ஒழிதலும் நான் மிக கலங்கி அண்ணாவோ என்றண்ணாந்து அலமந்து விழித்தாலும் நன்னாயால் தேரத்தில்லை நடம்பயிலும் நம்பானே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse is another emotional outburst that we all have in our life. When we look at it, we know Lord Shiva is the only soul, as in the only person that we can always rely on, count on, not only for human beings, even for devas. Devas from the celestial world, they are also worshipping Lord Shiva. Human beings like us, we are also worshipping Lord Shiva. But when the saint says, when I cry loud and I shout and I'm just trying to get your attention, why are you not even looking at me? That is what the emotional outburst from the author is coming in, the saint is coming in. And we all know it's the same situation for us. We have been calling out, we have been crying loud, we have been shouting, and we have been going through such a turmoil just to get Lord Shiva's attention on us, but he is not even looking at us. We have this complaint. We do have this complaint. Now, do we have an answer for this? Yes, we do have an answer. There's no point in shouting or crying or just roaming around and here and there and complaining about it, but rather we have to speak in the language that Lord Shiva can understand. Is there a language that he doesn't understand? That's a good question. We all know Lord Shiva wrote Thiruvasagam by his own hands. He wrote Tirukkovayar by his own hands. He also wrote one Padigam in the 11th Thirumurai, in the urge to be part of one of the saints there. Not only that, if you look at 7th Thirumurai, when Nambi Arurar was taken as a devotee by Lord Shiva, the first thing he said is, now I'm going to take you as my slave. I need you to sing Tamil verses. He said, I need you to sing Tamil verses. And we all know he's the one who gave us Vedas. Yet he asked for Tamil songs. And we all know, even today we are able to experience the power of Tirupadigam. When we sit and read Tirupadigams, we can see, we can feel Lord Shiva just by next to us. This is what we are talking about as verse number 7. So what we have to do is, instead of just shouting and yelling and crying and whining and whatever it is, just sit and read Thirupathikams. That is the best way to call Lord Shiva. After that, we will be able to see he will never, never, never abandon us. That is what verse number 7 is all about. And the 8th verse, the verse goes this way, Thuchchaana. வாடா வாய்னா பிதற்றி உனை நினைந்து நெஞ்சுருகி வீடாம் செய் கொற்றேவல் எற்றே மற்றிது பொய்யில் கூடாமே கை வந்து குருகுமார் யான் உன்னை நாடாயால் திருத்தில்லை நடம்பயிலும் நம்பானே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse talks about the only way to achieve Lord Shiva's grace. And in this, we all know, when we become very conscious about our surroundings, we will be very careful with our behavior as well as with the words that we speak. But once we just let go of all of these and fall in love with Lord Shiva, surrender 100%, then what will happen? The moment we hear Lord Shiva's name, we will start getting tears rolling off our cheeks. Not only that, we won't be able to speak. We will be stammering for words, and even the words that is coming out, it will not be in a proper sequence, which means it will be something like blabbering. And this should not be done in a conscious manner, but without our knowledge, without our knowing. This is what the real seva is all about. When we talk about seva, we always say, oh, I need to serve food, I need to redo a temple, I need to learn Thirumurai, or I need to teach Thirumurai, I need to learn Siddhantam or teach Siddhantam. We think about all of these, but in this verse, the saint says, the only way to serve Lord Shiva is to surrender ourselves completely and get on to his lotus feet. And this is also going to be done by his grace. Without his grace, we can't cry. Without his grace, we can't laugh. Without his grace, we can't even think about him. So everything happens because of the love that he has on us. All we have to do is surrender ourselves completely and immerse in the love that Lord Shiva is going to bestow on us. That is what verse number 8 is all about. He says, in a very simple manner, the only service that we can do is let go. Just let go of everything. Surrendering completely is the only thing we can do. Other than that, whatever we do is all good for nothing. That's what verse number 8 is all about. And the 9th verse, the verse goes this way, Thiruchitrambalam. வாழமாலாயன் வீழ்ந்து காண்பரிய மாண்பீதனை தோளார கையார துணையார தொழுதாலும் ஆளோனி உடையதுவும் அடியேனுன் தாழ் சேரும் நாளேதோ திருத்தில்லை நடம்பயிலும் நம்பானே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse brings the beautiful temple Thirunnamalai in our thoughts, in our memory. We all know the history behind Thirunnamalai. Brahma, who wanted to show that he is superior, started flying all the way up to see Lord Shiva's hair. Vishnu wanted to see Lord Shiva's lotus feet, and he started his journey towards the earth. Both of them tried to achieve Lord Shiva's, or to see Lord Shiva's hair and his toe, only by ego and not because of love or devotion. Because of that, Lord Shiva did not want to show them his real form, and he just took a form of a fire, and he went all the way up and all the way to the earth, as in below the earth, that no one could see where did it originate and where is it going to end. Now, the saint in this particular verse asks a very beautiful question. Lord Shiva, when devas are not able to see you because they are all in a much more superior state, they are not able to see you, and I'm such a small fry. How am I going to see you? All I can do is only cry and whine and worship you, and all I can do is just the moment I think about you, I can be filled with devotion, and my eyes can be filled with tears. Other than that, I'm not in a position to do anything other than this. Now, is this sufficient to achieve you? Is this sufficient to get onto your lotus feet? This is what the emotional outburst from the saint is. The lesson for us in this verse is very simple. We don't need to evaluate whether someone else is going to be given the blessings or they don't have the blessings. All we have to do is do a self-analysis and see what else we can do in such a way that we can achieve Lord Shiva's lotus feet. All we have to do is self-analysis, and all we have to do is correct ourselves in this journey. Remember, we are not born here to correct someone else. We are here for our own journey, for our own experiences. Let's be aware of this and always think about Lord Shiva and try to achieve his lotus feet. That is what verse number 9 gives us as a lesson. And the 10th verse, the verse goes this way. Thuchchaana. பாவார்ந்த தமிழ் மாலை பத்தரடி தொண்டன் எடுத்து ஓவாதே அழைக்கின்றான் என்றருளின் நன்று மிக தேவே தென் திருத்தில்லை கூத்தாடினாயடியேன் சாவாயும் நினை காண்டல் இனியுனக்கு தடுப்பரிதே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse comes as a Falashruti, or we call it as Thirukadaikappu. It is to tell someone what is the benefit of reading this entire Thirupadigam. We have already seen 9 verses from this Padigam, and all the 9 verses talks about only one thing. The saint goes in front of Lord Shiva and says, when are you going to give me your grace? When am I going to achieve your lotus feet? When am I going to come to you? This is what every verse was talking about, and in this verse he says, I've been blabbering the entire Padigam. Remember, he's using the word blabbering. He says that I'm just coming up with this verse, this particular Padigam. It may or may not make any sense. It's okay, but one thing is for sure, please give me your grace. If you don't give me your grace now, no worries. Once I die, I'm going to surely come and see you, and even you can't stop me from seeing you. Look at the confidence in this verse. This is a very important level of confidence that we should all be clear in our thoughts. Imagine when we go to a doctor for some illness, sometimes they will say, oh, looks like you have a very serious illness. For this, you need to have a change in place. So please go to a hill station, or please go to a place which is much cooler so that you can get a little bit of a relaxation. We have heard of this in our life as of now, right? That's exactly what's going through in our life right now. What we are doing is we have taken this birth, and this birth is nothing but a change of place, because we have to get rid of our illness, which is called as karma. We have accumulated so much of karma, that's our disease. In order to get rid of this disease, all we have to do is to take a place, to come to a place in order to cool ourselves, in order to get rid of this karma, and that is the purpose of this particular birth. We have taken this birth, we have come here only for that reason. Now, after we have cured ourselves, what should we do? We have to go back, isn't it? Going back is where we came from. So when we say we are going back, which is nothing but our death, when we go back, we are going back to Lord Shiva. Now imagine this particular verse. The author says, when I come back, you can't even stop me. That's exactly the same state that we are also in. When we die, we are going back to Lord Shiva. He also cannot stop us from coming back to him. So what we have to do is get rid of our karma, get rid of our bad deeds, so that when we are going back, we are curing ourselves from the disease that we have already accumulated. And when we came here, the most important one is when we come to a hill station to cure ourselves, we shouldn't be accumulating more disease. So our actions matter a lot, our thoughts matter a lot, whatever we speak matters a lot. All we have to do is be conscious about our words, our thoughts and our deeds, so that at least we will get rid of our karma and we will be able to go back to Lord Shiva with much more confidence. That is what verse number 10 is all about. With God's grace, we are completing 21 verses or 21 Padigam. I'll come back again with the next Padigam very soon. Until then, Sivaya Nama, Thiruchitrambalam.